welcome back to another episode of Jason's Game Room, the only podcast here on YouTube and quite possibly the internet that talks about everything gaming, from board games to video games to dice games to CCGs, and you just know I've covered other stuff on here because you're tuning in weekly. If it has anything to do with the world of gaming across all of its genres, it's going to be on this show, and you're going to want to keep tuning in every week to see what I'm on about. Now, I want to talk about something that was brought up in a discussion forum that I'm part of, and it's multiple topics crushed into one. And this, of course, pertains to the video game industry, how executives in the video game industry are parasites and just basing everything off their own greed, and the fact that a lot of gamers just plunk down money without even thinking anymore, how some video games have become poor in quality, the rise and fall of DLC, which is downloadable content, and just shit that's come out that just stunk so bad, we hated it. Back in the old days, when consoles were consoles, games were very thought out and planned, especially during the cartridge days and early CD drive days. You didn't see hardly any bugs in games, and if you did, they were minor ones that wouldn't affect the gameplay, and you didn't have to worry about purchasing anything extra. A lot of time and effort was put into these video games with huge teams of people working on certain franchises within those video game companies, and it was about making a good quality game that somebody could enjoy spending their hard-earned money on and playing and having a good time, and that made them want to come back for the next one in the series or from the next big blockbuster from that video game company. But with the advent of, I want to say as far back as PS2, we started having games come out that were rushed, horribly bugged, and you had to keep purchasing downloadable content and other things online for extra money to keep it going and keep playing it. A prime example of this in terms of downloadable content, and this is a game that's very dear to my heart because I played it for a long time, was the Battlefield series. Now, when I played Battlefield 3, especially with my big group of friends on the internet, it was great. And we didn't mind paying for an expansion every so often that came out with new maps and new weapons, because you'd pay maybe 10 or 20 bucks and you'd get a decent series of maps that would keep it going for, say, another 6 months to a year before the next expansion came out, sometimes less. But at the advent of Battlefield 4, which, as great of a game as it was, it kind of changed from Battlefield 3, where the controls were different and there were a lot more bugs and issues, loading screens, gameplay mechanics. There were so many bugs in that game that still pop up to today. And I never went far with the downloadable content for Battlefield 4. I downloaded the first expansion and that was it, because it just gets to be too much. You would think that they would jam-pack these games ahead of time, and you don't mind paying the 70 bucks when it comes out because you know it's got all this shit in it that you want to play. And part of the problem stems with the majority of video gamers not even thinking about the quality of the game anymore and just getting their pre-orders in or standing in those lines to accept a pre-order or some kind of new release just to say they have it, or they'll end up reselling it online anyways and then buying another one. But the video game industry executives see this and they just keep putting out new downloadable content, new games, as quick as possible to get the money. It's not about the quality of game anymore. Even the Assassin's Creed franchise has suffered from this in recent years. They're pumping out like 2 Assassin's Creed games a year. I remember when it took a few years for one to came out. You remember when it used to take 5 to 6 years to develop and bring out a Grand Theft Auto game. Now it's even quicker. And there's a lot more things you have to pay for and download, and especially in Grand Theft Auto, was it 4 or 5 with the shark cards to get you more credits on the game, and you had to start paying for those? We're all guilty of buying 1 or 2, maybe $10 shark card, but there are people buying hundreds of dollars worth of shark cards just to give them more money in the game. Doesn't make sense. The ends don't justify the means. You're spending real world money to have a few more zeros in a video game world. That's not real. And the executives don't care. They'll keep offering DLC and add-ons and take more of your money and still put out shit product that you're going to line up for. A great example of a game that wasn't really rushed. It was actually delayed a few times, but and it came out with great anticipation, and thank God, or any great maker or the universe, that I actually downloaded the demo before I went and pre-ordered the game. Because it turned out to be the biggest piece of shit I think I've played in recent years, and I'm referring to the game for PS3 called Duke Nukem Forever. Now, I've been playing Duke Nukem since the series came out for 286 and 386 DOS-based computers. I played Duke Nukem number 2, the extra levels, and I also played Duke Nukem 3D when that came out, and that was excellent. If you look at it now, the graphics are kind of basic, but it was an excellent game. You didn't need any downloadable content. I think they came up with something later, the Megaton edition, that you could add to it. But at the same time, Duke Nukem Forever was one of the best games, period, at that time, and the best Duke Nukem game. Then we heard a little while later that Duke Nukem Forever was going to blow the socks off everything. So we were like, okay, Duke Nukem Forever, sweet, sweet, can't wait to play it. The first company that tried bringing it out went under, and they ended up giving it to another company, who ended up giving it to another company. The game property switched hands 3 times from ID Software all up to some nameless companies that ended up going under. The game was delayed about 10 years, and when it finally came out, and this is again why I'm glad I played the demo, it was the biggest piece of shit I've ever popped into a console, or played, period. The mechanics were terrible, the graphics weren't that great, the gameplay was absolutely brutal, the story made no sense, it didn't even feel like a Duke Nukem game, especially when you have the level where he's driving a monster truck around in the desert. That's not Duke Nukem. Why the hell is he driving a monster truck? Seriously? When I got to that part in the demo and started playing that, after the frustration I had in the first few minutes of that demo, man, was I pissed off. Did a lot of people order it upon release still? Yes. And guess what happened? A month later, I remember when I still was visiting EB Games, I remember seeing a month after the game came out, there were already 6 or 7 back on their shelf in the used section. And then months after that, they were reduced, and just before EB started discontinuing support for PS3, I remember seeing 8 or 9 Duke Nukem Forever copies running for $9 or less. The second-hand retro video game store here in town I went to last year, they had about 10 copies of Duke Nukem Forever sitting there for about $5. You can't even give them away for free. The game was that shit. But this is what happens when executives don't give a damn, either delay or speed things up. The game or the property either changes hands or it gets dumbed down to the point where, yeah, we've released the game, but now you have to buy DLC, you have to buy extra things for extra credits, expansion packs, maps, whatever the game is. It's ridiculous. And if you're a big Sony fan like me, and to a lesser extent Xbox, because it does happen there sometimes, you also run into the problem where you buy a brand new game that you've either bought that day, because there's lots of it, or you've got your pre-order, you've lined up with your pre-order, got your game, you get home, you pop it in the PS3, and what's the first thing to happen? There's already an update, and this is more specifically with Sony. It's pissed me off since the dawn of time. 3 games in a row that I remember getting for pre-order: Battlefield 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, and I can't remember what the third game was, if it was Star Wars Force Unleashed or I can't remember. But 3 games in a row that I put in a pre-order because they were games I was really looking forward to, and as soon as I get home and pop it in, there's already an update, version 1.02 or 1.03. What the hell is the point of releasing a game and having already an update sitting on the server waiting for you? Why can't that be done before the game comes out? Why can't it all be ready to go? Why is it bugged? The reason is they are rushing these things. They don't care. All they want is to take your money and go, ha ha, thank you, and punch you in the face and start all over with the next game that you're looking forward to getting. This is why I started turning to demos. This is why I don't buy any new games. This is why I don't buy new consoles or anything new, and why I play my classic games over and over, because I've had enough. I'm not spending any more money so that some greedy executive in the video game company can punch me in the face, bend me over, stick it up my ass and ask for more and say, "How do you like that, baby?" Enough is enough. And the reason why it's going to keep happening is because most of you are happy to bend over and take it up the ass and say, "More please," and get in line and get your pre-orders for flawed games that you have to end up paying more money for to keep playing in the long run. It's as simple as that. And if I sound a bit angry, it's because I am. It's because the video game industry used to stand for something. It's turned into pure, unadulterated greed, and most people can't see that. If a lot of gamers stood up and said, "Hey, you know what? This is crap. We don't want rushed games full of bugs that we have to end up downloading endless patches and DLC for," it might change. But it won't, because the industry is too many billions of dollars now and nobody wants to stand up and fight back. I've done it in my own personal way by not buying anything new, any new consoles or games. I also don't shop at EB Games anymore because I'm tired of their bullshit on a whole. I'm quite happy playing my older PS3 games. It's as simple as that. Anyways, I'm off on a rant. Sometimes it runs a bit long, but that's why you tune in week after week. Have a great day, everybody, and of course, don't forget to game on.